A single candle flickers beneath vaulted arches of stone as evening settles over the medieval church, its soft glow reflecting on carved wooden pews. In the hush, a cloaked figure kneels at the altar rail, hands folded around the smooth wood, breath released in a slow exhale that carries the faint scent of beeswax and incense. Through stained glass windows, the last light of day filters in muted hues, painting spectral shapes across the flagstones. A single whisper escapes the figure's lips, neither prayer nor confession, but the beginning of a story that gathers weight in silence. The church stands timeless, its walls steeped in whispered secrets and silent vows. Behind the kneeling figure, a child taps a finger against the pew, the faint rhythm echoing in the stillness. The hush feels sacred, but there is a tremor beneath it, the power of words unspoken or softly spoken, and the ripples they can cast across a community anchored here. In corners dimmed by shadow, other worshippers bow their heads, unaware yet of the fragile thread that has been tugged. Outside, wind stirs the ancient yews, their branches scratching at the small windows like hushed warnings. The candlelight flickers again, and the whisper, heard only by the stones and the heart that uttered it, hangs between breath and prayer. In that fragile moment, the church holds its breath. A moment later, the ticking of a hidden clock begins to mark the unfolding of consequence. The whisper becomes a seed of change, quiet yet potent, like the turning of a page in the lives of those bound by faith and fear. And as the evening deepens, the first thread of a journey begins to weave through the hush, carrying its weight toward a dawn none can yet see. A choir of distant bells tolls shallowly through pre-dawn mist, calling the faithful before sunrise. Inside the nave, dust hangs in silent columns, disturbed only when a monk crosses with measured stride, bearing a single scroll. Each footstep echoes across the cool stone, the sound swallowed instantly by the vast, silent space. The scroll is old, edges frayed, its script elegant but faded, a whisper of ancient doctrine. The monk unrolls it before the choir stalls, careful to keep each crease unbroken. Parchment rustles softly as though awakening from centuries of sleep. Other monks appear, softly stepping from side aisles, drawn by curiosity that seems almost audible in the glow of lanterns they carry. Their faces are kind, reflective, sheepish even, for they sense the weight of words about to be spoken. From the folded shadows, a voice begins to speak, low, measured, urgent. The words are a whisper, but intended to be heard, to unravel a quiet suspicion long held in the reading of prayers and the counting of tithes. The scroll's script suggests a slight shift in doctrine, a nuance that could reshape loyalties and safe harbor alike. The monks exchange glances, the hush between them heavy as a held breath. The scroll is returned to its tube and hidden beneath a bench, the faint scent of old ink and wood smoke lingering in the air. Lantern light retreats towards the door, footsteps fade, parchment dust settles once more. The church returns to silence, but the whisper has awakened something. In that moment of retreat, the unseen tremor of the scroll begins its journey beyond niche debate toward hearts and consciences outside these walls. A beam of morning sun pierces through narrow lancet windows, falling across the high altar in golden slats. The scent of fresh bread and honeyed mead drifts in from the adjoining refectory, creating a sense of warmth around the austere stone. Beneath the altar steps, a novice lingers, shadows brushing his robe, eyes downcast. He carries a note, rolled and hidden in his sleeve. A whisper meant for the abbot's ear alone. His fingers smooth against the rough cloak, heart pulsing with both hope and dread. The abbey is calm, each monk immersed in low prayer or silent contemplation. No sound beyond the crackle of candles and the distant stir of prayer books being opened on prayer stands. The novice steps forward, offering the note. The abbot receives it in silence, breaking its seal with aged hands trembling slightly. The abbot's eyes trace the script, a whispered confession that questions something sacred. A law of the church may be bent, a past wrong confessed, a lineage concealed. The novice watches as the abbot folds the parchment once more, placing it within his robe. There is no immediate judgment, only a silence that tastes of shifting foundation. The novice steps away, shoulders eased, eyes lowered, as if released for now. Yet, as he exits toward the lighted cloister, something moves beneath the calm, a tremor beneath certainty. In the hush of the holy morning, a single whisper has unsettled truths meant to remain still. And the abbot, alone beside the altar, holds that moment in his palms, pondering what must be revealed and what must remain buried. The novice steps away, shoulders eased, eyes lowered as if released, for now. Yet, as he exits toward the lighted cloister, something moves beneath the calm, a tremor beneath certainty. In the hush of the holy morning, a single whisper has unsettled truths meant to remain still. And the abbot, alone beside the altar, holds that moment in his palms, pondering what must be revealed and what must remain buried. The brass chandelier overhead remains unlit as dusk slips into the nave. A woman enters covered by a woolen shawl, carrying an embroidered prayer book threaded with gold. She kneels before a statue of the Virgin, her fingers trailing across its stone hem, tracing cherished memories hidden in the dust. Nearby, other women pray quietly, eyes closed, voices hushed. From the back, a whisper drifts, a tale of secret midwife's herbs used on both kin and stranger under moonlight in defiance of church authority. The speaker is careful, voice nearly lost in the hush of flickering candle flames. A ripple moves through the congregation like branches touching glass. Heads incline, hearts tremble. The hedges of community begin to stir. The woman pauses, senses alert. The air tastes of melted wax and perfumed seeds. She glances at her prayer book, then steps to a pillar, pressing her palm flat against cool stone, drawing strength. Inside, she feels the weight of the whispered words, as if they were stones placed on cold shelves. The pew across is empty. She almost wishes it were not. Candles gutter, shadows grow tall. Outside, the first frost settles on rose hedges and cloistered doorways. That whisper, nothing more than breath between lips, has begun to infiltrate the warmth of routine, pressing questions beneath beads, robes, and vows. She remains still, carried by the soft echoes of hope and fear that follow her as footsteps fade into the night. A bell tolls thrice, each note drifting over the cemetery's ancient stones into the empty chapel. Inside, a charcoal sketch of Saint Michael slashes across the wall, sword raised as though to guard the world. Beneath it, a deacon stands at a lectern, parchment in hand. He is about to speak the words of absolution for a crime carried out in shadows. Clerical misconduct whispered into ears too willing. His voice barely rises above a murmur. The congregation is small. Old widows, a few farmers, the occasional child. Each face is lit by a single candle, reflections soft, hopeful. The whispered confession, read aloud now, bears both relief and shame. It names no one but weighs on all. The deacon's hand shakes as he rolls the parchment and returns it to his sleeve. The silence afterward is thick, carrying the scent of incense and forgiveness. Each soul present bows, eyes lowered in a blend of compassion and contemplation. The air warms slightly, as though acknowledging the tension of unspoken truth finally met. One elderly woman exhales, her breath visible in the chill. Another places her hand on a child's shoulder. The deacon steps back, folds his hands, and closes his eyes. In stillness, the chapel holds its breath, collecting the soft weight of the words just spoken. In that hush lies both judgment and grace, a balance held on the head of a pin. And as lantern light wavers, the congregation steps into their evening, changed by one whisper made public. Late afternoon sunlight filters through carved rose windows, splashing crimson and sapphire across a stone floor, thick with dust. At the center kneels a youth, quivering with question, lips parted as though about to speak. The priest stands before him, robes sweeping the floor. A sickle-shaped bruise marks the youth's wrist. The youth holds tight a small chain, an amulet banned under church decree. The priest's voice is gentle but firm. The chain must be surrendered, or whispered rumors of ancient pacts will spread. The youth inhales the scent of candle smoke, feeling his heart beat like a bird trapped in ribs. His gaze drops to the chain glinting at his collarbone. Each whisper that named it has become a weight upon his chest. Shadows stretch, drawing the youth into their fold. But then the priest kneels beside him, placing a calm hand on the youth's shoulder. No threat, only sorrow. Words spoken low. That this is not betrayal, but survival, memory, faith of a different hue. The youth's jaw relaxes. He breathes out slowly, handing over the chain. A hush settles between them as candlelight bathes the exchanged relic. The youth rises, head bowed. The priest gestures toward the aisle, not in dismissal, but invitation. In that small passing, a whisper has shifted from condemnation to redemption. The church terminally remains still, and within its silence lives a breath of possibility. Night falls slowly, wrapping the abbey in pale blue shadow. The cloister is empty except for a lantern carried by a single novice. He follows the curve of the archways toward the sacristy. His lips form a silent prayer, but his mind holds the whisper, a rumor he'd carried in silence, a name that binds him to guilt. He reaches the sacristy and lifts the lantern to reveal a wooden chest sealed for decades. He sets the lantern down, hands shaking as he brushes dust from its carvings. From his sleeve he withdraws a folded note, a whisper of a vow broken, a habit stained by secret indulgence. He lays it atop the chest. The lantern flickers. He hesitates, fingers grazing the hinge. The silence around him weighs. But in the chest, there are no voices, only memory. He breathes in the hush, the scent of old timber, cold stone, waxed floors. He replaces the note, gently pressing it to the chest's lid, as though sealing confession into wood. Then he lifts the lantern, closes the lid, and steps away. The echo of his footfall ripples through the quiet. The whisper has been set down, for now, and in that gesture lies both surrender and the delicate promise of healing. As Abbey night deepens, its stillness is alive with what might come next.